morning, everyone. This is Daaim Shabazz with Chess Drum here, and I have a special guest this morning. I have Alan Cowan, who is the co-founder of the Black Odyssey Chess Society. He is also the co-organizer of the HBCU Chess Classic that was held about a month ago, a little bit more than a month ago. It was held at Georgia Tech, and that event saw North Carolina E&T take the team event. You had Caleb Parker of FAMU who came in first in the individual event. So it was a very interesting event, and now that we've had two, it's not appearing as a one-off event. And so I wanted to talk to Alan. Didn't get a chance to talk to him at the event because things were so busy. But I wanted to officially welcome Alan to the interview. How are things going out there in California?
Thanks for having me. Love everything on that you do at the Chess Drum. But to answer your question on how things are in California, California's great. It's great. It's a complete adjustment pace-wise compared to New York and Atlanta. It's actually a big culture shock, but I love it here. I think this is the first experience as an adult, so I'm taking that in stride. But no, it's great. A lot of things to do here when I'm not busy with work, but yeah, I love it.
So tell us, you graduated from Morehouse last year, and as you said, you moved on the West Coast. Tell us what you're doing out on the West Coast.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I'm currently an analyst at Mosaic, who's a multi-stage venture capital firm based out of San Francisco. And so what that means is one source, which is finding opportunities for the firm to invest in. I work with our current investments, our investment companies. In addition to that, also lead a ton of sort of platform things. So for instance, connecting with undergraduates, facilitating programs, et cetera. In addition to that, actively working on, live deals, so live investment opportunities that we're seeing, doing the analysis and work there to get us to that next level in terms of whether or not we even need to be spending more time in that company or let alone that area. So there's a lot more to that, but at its core, those are a few of the things that I do here at Mosaic.
Now, you started the Black Odyssey before you graduated, and I know you worked very hard to pull off the inaugural event, but it must have been very difficult moving to a new place and trying to organize an event, starting a career. That must have been a very difficult thing, the fact that you're all the way on the West Coast now. What were some of the main challenges you had in pulling off the second event?
Yeah, there were quite a few, but I think to boil it down, I think the first thing was time. Both, it's not just for me getting into the real world, it's my partner Shania as well, who one is still working on her thesis for school, working on the law school process, etc. So on my side, it's working 80 to 100-hour work weeks. It's working on weekends. It's in addition to that, also the core things at TBO, which is our undergraduate structure. And so meeting with these schools and so that's one of the major challenges, finding the time to allocate to ensuring that the event runs smoothly. In addition to that, on the planning side, I think we had a great vision as far as what we wanted this to look like. We had the plan. We had the schools locked down as far as the folks that we wanted to bring into the fold. In addition to that, also sort of the venue. But unfortunately, there was last minute cancellations, which caused us to scramble. And by last minute, I mean as late as, a few weeks before the event actually happened, and so that put us in a position where we honestly were just concerned on whether or not it will happen in the first place. And so we had to make adjustments there, but I think that does speak to our resiliency. Um, but yeah, those were the main challenges. And honestly, like it was just myself and Shania, and so I think um for the future and what we've already installed and already made sure that we're doing is one, having more members of the team, but also, board of advisors that we're leaning on to essentially decouple a lot of the things that burdened us from just a load management perspective. And so those are the main challenges, but we've already worked to, resolve them. We have a game plan to make sure that year three is bigger than year one and year two combined. So yeah, those are a few of the challenges we've been faced with, but there were a ton, it's a lot more, but those are the main ones.
And I think a lot of times when people attend an event or they watch an event, they may not know all of the details that are happening in the background
Uh,
and the challenges. I very much could see what you all were doing and setting up and all of the different moving parts that you had to deal with. And I did see a few people moving chairs and helping you to set up, but it probably was the on the shoulders of both you and Shania to pull this thing off. And you all did a wonderful job. The venue was wonderful, but one of the things people wonder was about the school that it was held at. And I think I talked to you about that of course HBCUs would be the desired venue. Some of the players was talking about, yeah, well, we want to have it, we want to have it at at our campus. And that's probably something that we'll look at leading up to future events. Have you also had people to approach you and ask about hosting future events?
oh, from the HBCU side, you mean?
Hmm.
Yeah. For the first part of your question, yeah, you and I have definitely spoken a ton about the uh just what at our core we're fighting for, what we're doing. And so yeah, the HBCU is exactly where we need to be. I mentioned it earlier as far as just the challenges and the venue cancellation. And that was originally at an HBCU. Out of respect for the institution, I'll keep that, undisclosed. But I think that's our goal, and that's what we do. If our mission is to essentially create a bridge for broader connectivity as well as education through chess at HBCUs, it's only right that we do this at HBCUs. And so, even though first and foremost, the Georgia Tech's space was absolutely beautiful. Um, but yeah, the goal is to be at HBCUs, which is why we had the first one at Morris Brown, and why the future will be at HBCUs. To answer your question, yeah, we've been approached by a ton of schools, especially after the event, both on the HBCU side as well as other schools, high schools, middle schools in the Atlanta area. And so yeah, we're very fortunate. Um, and yeah, the future events will be at HBCUs. You have my word on that.
So one of the things that we saw the schools participating in, I believe it was Hampton, who said they rode 22 hours on the bus to get to Atlanta. Even though I understand that Hampton is not that far away, but the whole trip took 22 hours. And certainly, most of the HBCUs are further down south. And you had some schools that registered but weren't able to attend. Now, what do you envision that needs to be done to have more schools to participate in the Classic?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the first things first, we have to do a better job of actually getting to those schools. And what I mean by that is getting into contact with them. There were a ton of schools on our list that we just weren't able to get in contact with, whether it's from an administration perspective, but we need to do a better job at that. I think that'll be the first thing to help increase our funnel. We had a ton of schools in the first year. Um, and if we're able to execute on that, I think that'll vastly increase the amount of folks that we'll see at the Classic for next year, which is what we're doing. And that all starts from us preempting that and us starting as early as possible. Um, Secondly, it's supporting. I think one of our goals and what we have been doing for the first year, including the second year, is helping to cover the necessary costs for lodging, for transportation for schools. That's just something that we've done because we understand. Um, I was a I was a student just last year, and so um, I understand quite intimately just how much costs are, affect us. And so um, what we do is cover any costs for transportation, for lodging, hotels, etc. But one thing that we noticed was that getting the word out for that wasn't as clear as it needed to be, because there were schools that were, covering their own costs, um, that essentially didn't even know that we were offering that as a resource. And so, um, yeah, I think one, increasing that top of funnel that I mentioned, but also two, helping to make that word a lot clearer that, hey, we are offering any resources that are needed for you to actually be able to, to attend the Classic, I think is paramount to ensuring that not only do we have, commitments from schools, but in addition to that, that's able to, convert to them actually attending and playing and competing in the tournament.
Yeah, there was a side story of Hampton who almost did not make the event
Yeah.
because they didn't have the necessary funding and they may not have known about the resources you're talking about, but then they got the Atlanta chapter of the Hampton Alumni Association involved. And one of the local officers actually orchestrated raising the funds and getting them to Atlanta, which is I believe that's a very interesting story that, I was able to hear the spirit chants that Carla Booker did to the Hampton team. And it was really a wonderful event to see the alumni support and to see other alumni come out just to see the event. But in terms of the event itself, were you really pleased at the atmosphere and the feedback that you got from the players, or some of the comments? What was some of the reactions that you got from players?
Yeah, I think for starters, I think that they loved the space. I think that was the first thing. They just love the ability to have room to just walk around, to think, to, pace themselves. I think increasing just the overall time increments for this year was definitely a benefit to the students. Um, yeah, I think there were a lot of just compliments. I don't know if we received any feedback that or constructive criticism about how to sort of improve next year from the students, more so just from if anything, like admin or just supporters of just chess in general. But the overall feedback from the students were extremely positive. They were just extremely pleased to be here, be there at the tournament. So yeah, nothing, no criticism there, but that's the feedback that we got.
Well, I also talked to various people, and there was nothing but glowing praise of how the event was run. I mean, very glowing praise. and they loved the venue, the space, the fact that you had different places that you could go to and analyze. And
Yeah.
so I had my camera, I was going around watching what people were doing, and it made it just a very festive event.
Yeah.
And then obviously you had snacks, and that's
Yeah.
important as well.
It
that
is.
that you have things for people to to eat, and so they don't have to kind of get around in that area in Georgia Tech area,
Yeah.
which can be very tricky to navigate. I used to go to their library to do my research, and Georgia Tech can be very tricky.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and then they had construction. There was construction going on too, which I had to go all the way around. And
It made the GPS directions a little off as well. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So, but it was a wonderful event. Now, as far as ideas for future events, do you have anything new that you want to kind of make us anticipate for next year?
Uh,
Do you
uh,
have
this,
any? Because I know the first one you had, I think you had entertainment. There were a lot of things that were planned, and you may have something similar planned for future events. But what are some of the things on your wish list or things that you would like to see?
not really a wish list because this will happen. I'm gonna keep it light because Shania will be very upset. She's leading this, but yeah, we definitely are honing in a lot more on the entertainment side. We're definitely going to make the weekend a lot more enjoyable, not just for the chess player, but also for the spectator. Um, and so I think by doing that, it opens up a lot of um, activity as far as just folks coming in, as far as folks staying, and as far as folks wanting to be a part of it, because we want this to be something not just for the chess enthusiasts, but anybody that just wants to support, Black chess. And so this weekend will be, or the weekend will be dedicated to that. So uh yeah,
I know you're trying. You're
I'm
trying to
trying,
hold
I'm
in your
trying,
secret.
yeah, I'm trying to keep a level of suspense, but
Right, I got it. I got it. I can see this actually becoming a very big thing because you're talking about college students. You're talking about college students who are high achievers. I actually went online when I was doing the reflections piece for the event. I was looking up different individuals, and there were some folks that played in that tournament that were very high achievers
yeah,
academically.
yeah,
You wouldn't know it because we didn't, unless you talk to them individually, you wouldn't know. But you go and you look on the internet and Google some names, and it's like, wow, this person is doing X, Y, and Z. They're of high honors, and they're going to do, work at this corporation. And it was
yeah,
interesting because I didn't know at the time until after the event. I started looking up names, and then I saw it's interesting. I saw one of the players from Morehouse when Biden came to speak. They actually interviewed him. It was very quick, but I said, "Oh, he was in the HBCU Classic
yeah,
and graduating." So I think one of the things that I think could happen is if we had some kind of and this is just another thing to do, but to have some kind of profile of each player and maybe what year they're in, what if they have any affiliations, any honors, and then that actually can be used as a recruiting mechanism for companies that may want to sponsor, that who may want to sponsor this event and say, you have a lot of talent here, and these are people we may actually want to recruit, those who don't have permanent positions, maybe internships. Maybe we want to look at them in the future. So maybe a booklet, profiles might help that along as well.
yeah. No, absolutely. And you and I have had this conversation offline about that idea of just increasing sponsorships, increasing just overall awareness for companies to be able to support. So yeah, I think there's a ton of different things that we're thinking about. I think that that piece on just spotlighting is a great one as well. So yeah, we're really going to be hunting down, the best resources that we can get to make sure that the classic not only just runs smoothly, but lives up to that vision that we see and know that it can grow into. Because this opportunity here is massive. We're talking about tapping into an ecosystem of the 180 plus HBCUs in the nation. And so yeah, I'm completely in alignment with you there.
Yeah, and there's also possibility of getting trophies is nice. Being able to hoist up a trophy and to say I'm the HBCU champion.
Scholarships are better.
Scholarships are better. So you have sponsorships, you have prizes that are in the form of scholarships. People will come just for that. And I say that
Absolutely.
because I have been the advisor for case competitions, and you have these students jockeying for position, looking at which case competitions they want to be in based upon the prize. They
Yeah.
said, oh yeah, well no, that's too small. We're going to focus on the ones that are giving, and then they'll give a number.
Yeah.
So same thing with this, the classic. Let's say if you have a scholarship prize that's, I don't know, $5,000, $10,000, students will come just to compete for that.
I
And I
agree.
think that's something that we can kind of move toward if we can find some good sponsors for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've already started that and already our conversations with the sponsors at TBO in general, around just what they can do to make sure that the classic runs smoothly as well and really adds value from a resource perspective. So already started the process with that. Also leveraging the firm that I work at, like the folks here are extremely supportive of what I'm doing and what Shania and I are building. And so they're completely on board with supporting. And also like what comes with the job is just being able to tap into an ecosystem of other firms who I'm sure will be extremely supportive in this and who've the folks that I've spoken to have already expressed, support. And so being able to convert that into scholarships, I think will be a lot, easier now than it has been before. So yeah, that's the vision and we'll work to make sure that happens for this upcoming year.
Right. Well, that's all the questions I have. I know that I got you up early, but I appreciate you sharing with us all of the things that you're doing and have plans for. And we're really looking forward to the third one. And I think having the second one lets you know that it's not a one-off. It's not, okay, well, it's just one good event and that's it. So when you have the second, that legitimizes it. You have the third, it becomes an institution. And then, okay, this thing is going to happen every year. And I was telling Jamila Thompson Spellman, I said, well, maybe we'll be back here for the 10th, for the 10th anniversary of the HBCU Chess Classic. And we certainly appreciate your effort and Shania's effort at just your vision of putting this together. And I guess I should have asked you this earlier, but I'll ask you now, how did you have the vision to even come up with this idea? Because it's a revolutionary idea and it's been talked about before, decades before. Nobody had ever stepped forward to get it done. But how did you all come up with this idea and to move on it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the culmination of that came from quite a few things. The first thing was just my history in playing in tournaments. They've always been in a space where there were folks that just didn't look like me for the most part. Um, and in addition to that, me participating in collegiate events, and understanding quite simply that that remained true even on the higher learning or higher education side as well. And so what was important for me was just seeing more representation. Um, and so we've already started a TBO at that time. TBO was a culmination of just my ideas and Shania putting that battery in my back early on, before the pandemic. This was around my freshman year. Um, and then the idea came from, okay, what if we just do a tournament that's completely focused on HBCUs, completely focused on folks that look like us as a way of uplifting folks that look like us, And so um, we then spoke to, okay, how do we do this? No, this wouldn't work. And then honestly, it when we got on the phone with Maurice, he was like, why wouldn't this work? Like this is exactly what needs to happen. And so Maurice Ashley, I'm speaking about, but yeah, and I think that was the culmination of this. I think we thought that our idea was too grandiose. We thought it was too big, but we realized that it wasn't. Folks brought us to reality and said this is exactly what needs to happen. And so from there, we made sure that it happened. But a lot more finer details than that. But that's the gist of the sort of culmination for the classic. And yeah, I think year one was amazing. Year two was great, but year three will be the year that really defines the longevity of not only just the classic, but what we're building. And so Shania and I learned from the mistakes, the good lessons, the bad ones, but all lessons are good ones, but we learned from the good things and the bad things and are using this as an opportunity to ensure that year three will be stronger than any year before. So please look forward to that because we're just excited, just as excited to make sure it happens, as I'm sure you are to be a part of it and witness it. Because to your point, yeah, this is history. This is something that many folks have either thought of, or ideated, or attempted to do. But I think to be able to execute it's a great feeling, but it also puts good pressure on us to let us know that this is something that we have to make sure grows at a larger and more rapid pace than the year before.
Well, I want to thank you for your efforts and the time that you've spent. I'm certainly on board, and the Chess Drum supports your efforts. And I look forward to the third edition. I don't know where it's going to be, but thanks for your time, and hope to see you soon.
Yes, sir. Hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for everything. Take care.
All right, this is Daaim Shabazz, and we are signing off.